Look at a handful of garden soil right now. Really look at it. Not the color, not the texture. Look at what it used to be. 300 million years ago, the ground beneath every garden on Earth was a living, breathing organism. It had a pulse. Not a heartbeat exactly, but something close. A constant rhythm of feeding, digesting, breaking down, rebuilding. Billions of creatures too small to see with the naked eye, running one of the most sophisticated biological systems the planet has ever produced. Now look at that handful of soil again. How much of that pulse is still there? For most home gardeners, the honest answer is almost none. And the reason goes much deeper than neglect, much deeper than a missed watering schedule or a bad growing season. The soil itself has been quietly dismantled, not by accident, by design. Tonight, one buried scrap from the kitchen is going to start reversing that damage. Something so humble it usually ends up in a compost bin or a trash can. And by the end of the week, the ground above it will be doing something it has not done in years. But to understand why this works, it first helps to understand what was taken. 1. What lives in 1 teaspoon of healthy soil, and why yours is probably empty. Here is a number that stops most people cold. 1 teaspoon of genuinely healthy, living garden soil contains more individual organisms than there are human beings on the planet. Not a rough estimate, a documented biological reality confirmed by decades of microbiology research. A single gram of rich woodland soil holds somewhere between 100 million and 1 billion bacterial cells. Alongside those, thousands of species of fungi, nematodes, protozoa, mites, springtails, and microscopic roundworms, all running an invisible economy of nutrient exchange beneath the surface. Plants tapped into this underground network do not struggle, they do not stall, they do not sit yellow and stunted in a pot that cost $40 and gets watered faithfully 3 times a week. They thrive because they were never meant to feed themselves. The architecture of healthy plant growth is a partnership. Plant roots release roughly 30 to 40% of all the energy they produce through photosynthesis directly into the soil as liquid sugars. That is not waste, that is rent payment. The plant is running a subscription service for its microbial tenants, and in return, those organisms deliver a grocery list of nutrients the plant cannot access on its own. Locked phosphorus, bound zinc, unavailable iron, all unlocked, chelated, and delivered directly to the root surface in plant-ready form. Pull that microbial community out of the equation, and the plant is alone, stranded, pouring energy into roots that reach out and find nothing. No partners, no exchange, just sterile mineral particles that hold the plant upright but cannot feed it the way living soil can. This is the condition of most urban and suburban garden soil. Not because gardeners are careless, because the system has been systematically emptied. 2. The 40 years that killed the underground. It happened gradually, then all at once. After the Second World War, the chemical compounds developed for wartime production needed a peacetime market. Nitrogen-based explosives became nitrogen-based fertilizers almost overnight. The agricultural industry restructured around synthetic inputs, and within a generation, the old understanding of soil as a living system was largely replaced by a simpler model. Soil is a growing medium, a physical anchor, something to hold roots in place while the chemicals do the actual feeding. That model is still sold at every garden center in the world. Here is what the transition actually did to the underground. Synthetic nitrogen, the kind in those granular pellets and blue liquid concentrates, is immediately soluble. It hits the soil as a salt, a powerful osmotic force. Sensitive soil bacteria, the same organisms responsible for building the sticky web-like structures that give healthy soil its soft, crumbly texture, cannot tolerate that salt concentration. The bacterial colonies that act as biological glue between soil particles die off. The fungal networks that thread through healthy earth and extend a plant's root reach by thousands of % contract and collapse.
What remains after several seasons of heavy synthetic fertilizer use is structurally intact on the surface, but biologically hollow underneath. The soil compacts because there is nothing alive to keep it open. It crusts because the surface binding organisms are gone. It repels water because the natural surfactants that beneficial microbes produce are no longer being manufactured. The ground becomes a slow-motion desert. And here's the part that makes this a business model rather than an accident. Compacted, biologically dead soil cannot deliver nutrients to plants, so the plant visibly suffers. The gardener sees the suffering. The gardener buys more fertilizer. The fertilizer further depletes the soil biology. The cycle tightens, the spending continues. There is a name for this in ecological science. It is called a degradation loop, and the only way out is not a better synthetic product, it is the restoration of what was removed.
3. The Japanese farmer who figured this out by accident in a rice field. In the late 1960s, on the main island of Japan, a rice farmer named Masanobu Fukuoka was doing something that made his neighbors deeply uncomfortable. He was not tilling. He was not applying pesticides. He was not flooding his paddies on the conventional schedule. His fields looked, by modern agricultural standards, borderline abandoned. His yields were not. Fukuoka had spent years observing what happened when human intervention stepped back and let natural soil processes run. What he documented over decades became the foundational text of natural farming, a philosophy that predates the Western organic movement and goes considerably further. His central finding was not about what to add to soil. It was about what to stop removing. Specifically, what he tracked was the behavior of beneficial microbial populations when undisturbed. When soil is left with surface organic matter, when it is not sterilized by heat or salt, when the fungal networks are allowed to persist and spread, the plant feeding efficiency of the underground system compounds over time. Yields from his naturally managed fields eventually matched and, in some categories, exceeded the chemically managed plots next door, without a single synthetic input. The lesson was not that chemistry is always wrong. The lesson was that biology is primary. Feed the soil organisms first. The plants will follow. That principle is exactly what the buried kitchen scrap is about to demonstrate. 4. The scrap that rebuilds an underground empire. Here is the ingredient: banana peels. Not dried banana peel powder from an online supplement store, not a processed extract from a garden supply catalog, the actual banana peel, from the banana sitting in the fruit bowl right now, the one that gets peeled off and dropped straight in the bin. That peel is carrying something remarkable: a dense concentration of potassium, roughly 78 milligrams per 100 grams of fresh peel, significant quantities of calcium and magnesium, measurable phosphorus, and critically a high concentration of complex carbohydrates and plant-based sugars that function as a prebiotic feeding substrate for the exact category of soil organisms that depleted ground is starving for. But the raw peel alone is only half the story. The method of preparation is what transforms a kitchen scrap into a genuine soil inoculant. Here is the process, step by step. Take 2 or 3 banana peels, chop them roughly into pieces about the size of a thumb. Drop them into a clean glass jar. Add 1 tablespoon of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar, the kind with the visible sediment at the bottom called the mother, which itself contains a starter culture of beneficial acetobacter bacteria. Fill the jar halfway with unchlorinated water. Tap water that has sat uncovered overnight works fine, as the chlorine dissipates. Stir it together. Cover the jar with a breathable cloth rather than a sealed lid, securing it with a rubber band. Set the jar somewhere dark and at room temperature, not in the refrigerator. Over 3 to 5 days, a gentle fermentation begins. The sugars in the peel feed the bacteria introduced from the apple cider vinegar, which multiply rapidly and begin producing lactic acid as a byproduct. The smell will shift from fruity to pleasantly sour, similar to a mild kombucha or sourdough starter. That sourness is the signal. The colony is established. On day 5, strain out the peel solids. What remains is a liquid concentrate containing hundreds of millions of beneficial bacteria per milliliter, along with potassium, calcium, phosphorus, and fermentation-derived compounds including short-chain fatty acids that act as direct growth stimulants for plant root tissue. Dilute this concentrate, 1 part fermented peel liquid to 10 parts water. Stir in 1 teaspoon of unsulfured Blackstrap molasses per liter. The molasses provides an immediate burst of simple sugars that accelerates the bacterial population by a factor of 5 within an hour of mixing. The brew is now ready.
5. The burial method and the 7-day transformation. Here is where the technique diverges from standard liquid fertilizer application and enters something closer to soil inoculation. Rather than simply pouring this brew over the soil surface, use 2 methods together. First, water the soil surface with roughly half the diluted mixture until visibly saturated. Then, take the strained banana peel solids and bury them directly in the ground, about 4 to 6 inches deep, close to the base of any struggling plant. Dig a small trench, drop the fermented solids in, cover them back over. The buried peel creates a localized feeding station. As it continues breaking down underground, it releases a sustained, slow feed of potassium and phosphorus directly into the root zone, while simultaneously acting as a carbon-rich substrate that beneficial fungi colonize enthusiastically. The surrounding liquid application distributes the bacterial inoculant through the broader soil profile. Now, step away. Let the night shift begin. Within the first 24 hours, the bacterial population in the saturated soil begins the colonization phase. The lactic acid bacteria attach to soil particle surfaces and begin secreting the polysaccharide compounds that act as biological glue. Compacted soil particles that have been pressing against each other in a structureless mass begin to cluster around microbial biofilms, forming the small aggregates called PEDs that are the signature of genuinely healthy, aerated soil. By day 3, the fermented peel buried underground has attracted fungal hyphae, the thread-like structures of beneficial soil fungi that extend outward from any carbon-rich food source. These threads weave through the surrounding soil, extending the feeding network laterally in every direction. By day 7, something visible happens that stops gardeners in their tracks. Small castings begin appearing on the soil surface, tiny piles of processed earth, barely the size of a match head, clustered near the burial site. Earthworms have arrived, not introduced artificially, not purchased in a bait shop, drawn by instinct from surrounding soil toward a feeding signal they can detect through vibration and chemical gradients that science still does not fully understand. Their arrival is not incidental, it is the confirmation. Earthworms do not move toward dead soil, they move toward food. The microbial feast has been set, the underground is waking up.
6. Why this matters beyond the back garden. There's a version of this story that scales in a way that should make every gardener feel something more than pride in a healthier tomato plant. The degradation of soil biology is not a local problem. It is the most underreported environmental crisis on the planet. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization estimates that if topsoil degradation continues at its current rate, the world has roughly 60 harvests left before widespread crop failure becomes a systemic global threat, not a theoretical distant future, within the lifetime of people currently in their 20s and 30s. The industrial solution proposed to address this is more of the same: better synthetic inputs, more precision chemical delivery, genetically modified crops designed to tolerate ever worse growing conditions. The biological solution runs in the opposite direction entirely: rebuild the underground, restore the microbial partnerships, let the soil feed itself the way it did for 400 million years before synthetic chemistry interrupted the conversation. Every gardener who picks up a banana peel, who saves the rice wash water, who stops reflexively buying the same bag of synthetic granules every spring, is participating in something larger than a garden experiment. They are practicing a form of decentralized ecological restoration. One pot, one raised bed, one backyard plot at a time. The biology has not disappeared entirely. It is dormant, waiting. One fermented scrap buried at the right depth in the right conditions is enough to restart a process that, once running, does not need managing. It manages itself. That is what 300 million years of evolution built.
Conclusion. So tonight, do not throw that banana peel away. Chop it. Jar it. Add a splash of apple cider vinegar and a little water. Put it in a dark cabinet and leave it alone for 5 days. Then dilute it, sweeten it with a spoonful of molasses, and pour it over the most exhausted, most defeated patch of garden soil nearby. Bury the solids. Go inside. Sleep. Come back in 7 days. Crouch down. Look closely at the soil surface near the burial site. If the biology has taken hold, there will be castings. Small, dark, unmistakable, and beneath them the beginning of an underground network that no bag of synthetic fertilizer has ever been able to replicate. Because it is not a product, it is a living system, and it has been waiting under every neglected garden in the world, ready to come back the moment something worth eating shows up. Give the soil something to eat. Everything else follows. Until next time, keep your hands in the dirt and your roots running deep. Happy gardening.